I predict that HIMS stock will increase 200% this year, even without GLP-1. How? I created a DCF valuation model, which will be the purpose of this video. But first, let's go into some pretext. Number one is that HIMS got attacked by a short seller called Hunter Brick Research. And starts, HIMS and HERS selling GLP-1 injection that's not FDA approved from shady supplier and won't make you talk to a doctor to get it. So anyway, this article primarily focuses on GLP-1. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm creating this DCF valuation model without GLP-1 included. So let's get into it. HIMS and HERS stock is currently trading at $15.96. You can see that is a drastic decline from the $25. And look at this roller coaster. This stock has been a roller coaster. But if you bought a year ago, you are up big. So let's go through a couple of these highlights just real quick. So you can see that when HIMS finally achieved profitability, net GAAP profitability, you can see right here that the stock accelerated. At around the March timeline, it exploded. That's when they became profitable. And I think the first telehealth company to achieve profitability. Now, when did I buy into HIMS? I bought the majority of my shares in this period, around the $12 range, late May, just before that earnings report came out and just blew away expectations. It was, frankly, lucky timing on my part, but that's when I bought most of my shares. What happened since then? Hunter Brick Research, at around the high, around $25, released that scathing report. And then there's something else that's going to come to as well. But as you can see, there's a 1-2 punch that knocked HIMS from $25 to $15.96. That is a huge decline. But at least we are not Teladoc. The less I say about Teladoc, the better. By the way, Shamow says to like and subscribe. So yeah, unlike the brand name, this is from Hunter Brick Research, unlike the brand name GLP drugs, Ozempic and Wegovy, sold by Big Pharma, HIMS sells injections that have not been FDA approved. The company is doing so through an FDA loophole that enables facilities called compounding pharmacies to sell their own versions of patented drugs during shortages. Now, they call this a loophole, but this is actually something that's done purposefully by the FDA. So yeah, this is from the FDA's website. You can see right there. This is the FDA's website. So, can semaglutide be compounded? When a drug is in shortage, compounders may be able to prepare a compounded version of that drug if they meet certain requirements in the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. As of May 2023, Ozempic and Wegovy are both listed on the FDA's drug shortages list. So yes, right now it is approved on the FDA. Now, it's not FDA, approved, but it's allowed. It's allowed is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, due to the mass shortages of this very important drug, it is allowed by the FDA currently. And it's a very good thing because HIMS is selling these drugs at $200 per month, undercutting the competition by 90%, like 80%. They're undercutting the competition 80%. Now, does the drug work? According to the people on Reddit, yes. You can check yourself. r/HIMS weight loss and r/HERS weight loss. You can track people on their own journey through HIMS weight loss routine. Like this person right here. This was more than 2 days ago. This was actually a couple months ago. He says, I was down about 20 pounds by week 3. This was on the HIMS, compounded semaglutide medication. So they just say, just keep at it. Just keep at it indeed. However, here's the second part of the 1-2 punch. the FTC started inquiry into HIMS. So HIMS and Hers says voluntarily cooperating with FTC inquiry. Now, this was kind of expected, kind of not, kind of like it could happen. Because people are starting to complain, the brand names are complaining, and when people complain, it kind of starts these things. So yeah, Hims and Hers Health is cooperating with an inquiry from the U.S. Federal Trade Commission for more information. Now, the assumption here is this has to do with GLP-1. We're not 100% sure, but that's the assumption. So yeah, Hims replied with basically lawyer speak, lawyer talk. We support the FTC's mission to protect customers, and we strive to ensure best practices in everything that we do, blah, blah, blah. We're cooperating, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so yeah, just to show how important GLP-1 is, South Park did an episode just not that long ago. Just, basically an entire advertisement on these drugs. So yeah, this is just a scene from the episode. Kind of a funny episode, I think. So yeah, so the question is, how important is GLP-1 to HIMS? So here's the subscriptions of HIMS throughout the years. Let me see. Can we see it in full? Yes, just about. Let me hide my face real quickly just so you can see all of it. I always clicked the wrong button. Okay, so anyway, yes, here we go. So as you can see, HIMS subscriber growth has been consistently growing at an exponential rate. And you can barely even see the blip from GLP-1. It's there, but it's kind of hard to see. It happened around Q1, Q2 of 2024, around this period, is when HIMS started selling the GLP-1 compounded medications. So it went up a little bit, but even without it, HIMS was doing great and would still be doing great, even without GLP-1. So what else do we have? On the most recent earnings report about 1 week ago, HIMS actually stated explicitly that GLP-1 contributed 6% to the growth in the last quarter, which brought it to 52% growth. So without that growth, if you exclude GLP-1, HIMS revenue would have grown 46% in the first quarter, which actually would have met their prior guidance. So that's basically the difference, is 6% currently. It could be higher in the future quarters, but right now it's 6%. So if you chopped GLP-1 off of it, you would still end up with 46% growth, which is enormous growth for this profitable telehealth company. So what we have also is this income statement. This is from Seeking Alpha. So you can see here, in December 2020, HIMS's revenue grew 80.18%. In 2021, it grew 82%, 93.81%, 65.49% in 2023. In 2024, they're expecting growth around 50 to 52% this year. Now, obviously, if you exclude GLP-1, it'll probably be in the mid-40s range, which is still fantastic growth. So what happened was, okay, so here's the net income. You can see in March 2024, net income grew to $11 million. And you can see December 2023 is when they turned profitable at $1.2 million. Now, in this most recent quarter, you can see two things. Number one, marketing exploded from $107 million last year to $145 million this year. And even then, total comprehensive income at the bottom, which is basically, or actually, let's actually look at net income, a couple lines above. Net income is $13.2 million, which is an increase from negative $7.1 million last year. So they are growing, and they are growing fast, and they are growing profitably. That is the big thing, is they are growing profitably. Also, this was a triple beat. They beat on the top line, the bottom line, which is 6 cents per share, and on the expectations for the year and next quarter. Oh God, the next quarter's expectations are huge. I don't have them here in the spreadsheet. Check them out. They are huge. Okay, so what I did is when I invested in HIMS, every time I make an investment in any company, including HIMS, I do a DCF valuation. I suggest you do the same. It is very informative and it's very good to have. Actually, my face is still hidden. Let me bring myself back up. There I am. Actually, you can probably hear my cat. She's eating. Okay, so yeah, I made this DCF valuation. This was back in May. Actually, this was a couple of weeks before the GLP-1 announcement even took place. So I made this prediction even before GLP-1 was even a thing in HIMS's radar. So the thing is, when I made this prediction, I predicted that 2024 revenues were going to come in at 40%. Now, obviously now, we know that that is far too low. I predicted too conservatively. Now, again, they're predicting 50 to 52% growth, or if you subtract GLP-1, about 45, 46% growth. So I was actually lowballing this prediction. So you'll see later that actually if we made this to the accurate numbers, it would far exceed my 200% prediction for HIMS this year. So these numbers are what gets us to 200% gains this year. These numbers. And these numbers, I think, are too conservative now. I thought they were good, but now I think they're too conservative. So yeah, going into 2025, as you can see here, 25% gains, decreasing to 20% in 2026, then 15%, 12%, 10%, gradually going down to 6% in 2033. And that's the key thing, is when you make a DCF valuation model, what's the most important thing is to project this growth. This growth rate is the most important thing. The more accurate it is, the more accurate your results are going to be on its intrinsic value. The intrinsic value is what it should be worth today. It's not necessarily what Wall Street thinks it's worth, because what Wall Street is currently pricing it at, and the intrinsic value is usually completely off. It could be, this way, or rarely this way. So anyway, if you map those out, you end up with revenues growing with this chart here. Here's the whack-a-mole chart. And actually, HIMS comes in at a whack of 8.72%, which is actually pretty low. And look at that, zero debt. Oh, and also, I made this chart a while ago. That's why you see a market cap of $2.7 billion. Currently, they're at about $3.8 billion. So what does that get us? That gets us, based off these, I think, conservative numbers, an applied share price of $46.73. So that's what I think HIMS should be worth today. So the reason I give this a 12-month target is I think it'll take Wall Street 12 months to get from the current price to its intrinsic value. So I'm giving Wall Street 12 months to catch up to what I think they are worth today. And this gives us a 200% upside. So anyway, that's what I think that HIMS is worth today. Now, here's the thing. I only gave you the highlights. This is the highlights reel in the DCF. This, obviously, you didn't see the calculations or anything like that. I do have an Excel with the calculations up on my Patreon. And that's where you get the goods. You can actually download. If you disagree with any of my numbers, you can head on over to Patreon, download the spreadsheets, change the numbers to what you think is accurate for what you think HIMS will perform, and the spreadsheet will automatically calculate your intrinsic value for HIMS. It's only $25. For only $25, you can get this invaluable research points. And also, it's not just HIMS. I do Tesla, I do Nvidia, I do AMD, I do Intel, Microsoft, I do Nike, PayPal. I do about 15 or 20 different companies. You can do this with all of those companies. I have DCF models for all of those companies up on Patreon, and you can access all of them for $25. Not only that, I have a Patreon portfolio. You can track as I make any transaction in that portfolio, as I grow that portfolio from $0 to $1 million. And that portfolio, the purpose of that is to sort of guide people in how I think and how I construct a portfolio for gains that will beat the market. That's the whole purpose of that. And also, I have corporate analyses on Patreon as well. This is all included in the $25. The corporate analysis charts, those are 10 to 20 page documents for each company detailing the exact, all the details, everything you need to know about the company is in there. Everything you need to know. So these are very in-depth documents, and it's everything. You will never find a better deal. You'll never find a better deal than what's on my Patreon. So yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.